and welcome to Woolen Works. Today we're going to be learning how to change colours in our granny squares. If you haven't already, go and watch my granny square tutorial, as that will give you everything you need to know to make the square itself, and then come back here so I can show you multiple ways that you can change your colours and you can pick which one will work best for you. For this tutorial you're going to need some balls of yarn, and you preferably want them to be the same weight and of course different colours so that we can see our changing colours. We need some tapestry needles to weave in your ends, your crochet hook of course, which you can use the size that's recommended on the ball, or you can use one a half size smaller, which will make your stitches a bit more tighter and uniform. And finally you'll need a pair of scissors to cut your ends. So to start, make your magic circle, which is where we make an X around our fingers. Insert your crochet hook under the right hand loop, pick up the left hand side and pull it out. Twist your hook to face the sky, then grab that same bit of yarn, wrap and pull through to do a chain stitch. Then take your fingers out and that's your magic loop. Now we're going to work the first round of the granny square. So we'll start with the chain 2, because we've already got one from our magic circle, so there's a chain of 3. And then we'll yarn over, insert our hook into the magic circle, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And that's our double crochet stitch. We'll do one more of those. And this will form the first group of our granny square. And then we'll chain 2. So there's our first finished group, and we're going to do 4 all the way around our magic ring. So now we've finished the first round of our ring, and to join we'll slip stitch into the third chain that we did at the start. So that's where we insert our hook into the middle of the stitch, and we're going to pick up that loop and the one underneath. So we'll pick up those 2 loops there. Then yarn over and pull through, and again pull straight through for that loop. So this is where we'll add in our next colour. I'm going to be using dark grey and making squares similar to the ones you see here, but you can mix it up however you like. I'll also be showing you how to finish off round 1 using an invisible join so you can't see where the seam is. So you can use that, or you can continuously add your colours. But just note, this means at the end of your granny square you'll have a lot more ends to weave in. We can finish this first round and tie in our ends, so we'll take our scissors and cut so we have enough to weave in our ends, and we'll pull that tail all the way through. Then want to grab your tapestry needle and do an invisible seam, which is where we thread our needle with great difficulty. Pull that through if you can. I've used very chunky yarn and a very small tapestry needle. And you want to make sure this loop here is quite loose. So don't pull this one where our working yarn is kind of coming out the middle of. Don't pull this one too tight. Then we're going to go 2 stitches across. So here's 1, 2, and we're going to go through there. So you can see we've kind of closed that loop there, and then we're going to go into the back loop of the stitch where our working yarn's coming from. You'll see that will make our V-stitch. And that will cover up any knots that we had before, and will create a nice invisible seam. And then you can go ahead and weave in this end, or you can leave it to the end. So now, working on our wrong side, you can pick any corner to work into. Remember, the wrong side's the one where the tail is. And the first one we're going to learn is the standing double crochet. That's in US terms, and this will be your single crochet if you're using UK terms. So you want to make a slip knot, and to do that grab the tail end of your yarn, wrap it around and over itself, and go inside that loop, grab the tail and pull. And you want to have enough to weave in your ends later. And what we can do is yarn over, insert in from the wrong side through to the right side of our granny square. So again, like so. Yarn over and pull up a loop like you would for the double crochet. You then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is called a standing double crochet stitch. Now, because we did the slip knot at the start, you will have a bit of a knot here. So what I also like to do, I recommend doing the knot if it's your first time, but once you get used to it a bit, I like to actually wrap the yarn around my needle twice, and I just hold this in my hand. Then I'll do the double crochet. So I'll insert, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. Now this does mean at the end I really need to weave this in, because otherwise it can just come unravelled. But what it does mean is that I don't have any lumps or bumps here, so I can go and do my next double crochet stitch. And now you can see I don't have any knots. So it's up to you how you want to do that one. You can always do the slip knot and then just wrap your yarn, kind of when you're weaving your ends, wrap it so that it ties it down flat. But I personally prefer just to weave in my ends later, a bit better than I normally would. And then you can work this around, same as you normally would for round 2 of your granny square. Cut it, round 3, you can do the same. I'll show this method one more time just to make sure it's nice and clear. So you can either do it with a slip knot and then insert your hook into the slip knot and then into the granny square for your double crochet stitch, or you can wrap the yarn around your needle twice and then insert into the granny square for your double crochet. It's completely up to you which one you prefer. If you are a beginner and this is your first time doing a standing double crochet, I would recommend doing it with the slip knot and just weaving in your ends to make the bump flat at the end. So there you are, that is all there is to the standing double crochet method, and you can use this for as many rounds and as many colours as you like. Another way you can do this is insert your hook from the wrong side through to the right side of your granny square and pull through your colour B, and then you want to make sure your tail's long to weave in your ends, so just pull it through. Make it easier for yourself. The longer that tail is, the easier it'll be for you to weave in that end. And then I'm going to yarn over with both strands, the tail and the working end of the colour B, and pull through for a chain stitch. I'll then drop the tail, and I'll chain another 2. So now I have my chain of 3 in colour B. Now I'm going to work over the tail, so I'm going to hold the tail along the edge of our granny square, and I'll do my next 2 double crochets. Then chain 2, work another 3 double crochets straight into that chain space. And you can continue like this all the way around for round 2 of your granny square, and at the end you can just weave this end in under these stitches back and forth. I'll show that again. So we insert our hook from the wrong to the right side of our granny square, pick up colour B and pull it through. We'll then do a chain stitch with both strands of colour B, then let go of the tail, And we'll do another chain 2 so that we have our chain 3, which is our first double crochet stitch. And then you work your granny square as you did before. Now, if you don't want to cut your tail, join and cut your tail every time you want to change a colour, here is another way you can do it. So you want to find the tail end of your second colour, and rather than joining and doing our slip stitch with colour A, we're going to use colour B. So we'll insert our hook into the middle of the third chain that we did at the start, under both loops like we always do. And we're going to loop colour B over our hook, like so. And then we're going to pull that through both loops on our hook. Now remember, the tip to keep our granny squares nice and straight on the edges is to turn our work. So we're going to twist this over, and we're going to drop the pink working yarn. We don't need to use that anymore. We're using our colour A, we're using colour B now. And we're going to do our slip stitch into the chain space. So insert our hook from the wrong side through to the right side. And I'm going to yarn over and pull through with both loops, the tail and the working yarn from our second colour, and do a slip stitch with those. Then we'll drop the tail and we'll chain 3, and then we're ready to do our next round. And you'll just have to weave in this end later, but it means you don't need to cut and join each time. You'll just have to weave in later on. So then you can do your double crochets and work over the tail of colour B. That'll be a little less to weave in, which is always nice. And this time you'll treat this as half of your corner. So we've done 3 double crochets now. We'll chain 1, and you'll go and work straight into your next corner. And then you'll finish this one, this corner here that we're starting with. When you've gone all the way around, you'll do the last 3 double crochets. But I just want to go back and show you how I joined again, just so that that's nice and clear. So we're about to do our slip stitch. We insert our hook in the middle of the V under 2 loops, then grab our colour B and loop it over our hook, and you want to make sure your tail's long enough that you've got enough to weave in your ends. If it's too short and then you put your needle on there, it's very difficult. So make it a little bit longer, maybe 10 to 15 centimeters. Then you want to slip stitch, turn your work over, so now we're looking at the wrong side, and you're going to do a slip stitch with both the working and tail of colour B, drop the tail, and then we're going to chain 3 like we normally would for round 2 of our granny square with our second colour, and then you're good to go for round 2. So now you know how to change colours in your granny squares. You can do the square like we did today, or you can do stripes like this and change it up however you like. In the next video I'll be showing you how to join your granny squares in the round so that you have less ends to weave in when you've finished your piece. So stay tuned for that. If you did enjoy today's video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my future tutorials. If you want to see what I'm making at the moment, head over to @woolenworks on Instagram and or Facebook. Thank you for watching.